Hi everybody, can you please turn on your video so that I can have a look at who are my students? Otherwise it becomes so kind of impersonal हो जाती है. Maybe all those who are, please if you could just turn your video on. Swati. Hi. So nice, Swati. What about the others?
Good
Okay.
afternoon, sir.
Rahila,
Yes.
Muhammad, Swati. Great. Yes, Saili, Soman. So, how many of you are from Pune? All of you are from Pune, or somebody said you're from UAE directly, is it? Rahila.
Sir, it's me, and I think even my friend is there. Neha hasn't joined yet. Even Neha is from UAE.
Okay. Hi, Shubham. That's great. So I am lucky to be teaching international students also. Great. Yes, Shubham is there. So,
Sir, for the quiz, you will send the link after this session.
uh, actually, I have sent the details to Nishant.
Okay.
Nishant, I hope you will be sending it to the students, na? Please
Sir, already uploaded
upload it, na?
in the Teams
Okay.
Okay.
folder. Please check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nishan sir, just sorry to talk you here. Just I have few doubt with you. So
Okay.
after this meeting or any time, can I ping you in the Teams?
Yeah, sure, sure. Or you can write me an email. Not a problem.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Nishant is a gentleman. Anytime you can call him, he's always there to help you people. So please don't feel constrained calling Nishant. He's a very, very nice gentleman. Please feel
Nishant,
free calling him.
yeah, I think so. Nishant, you said that you have uploaded it to the folder. See, but the previous recording and the content is that the presentation, if you're trying to open it, it is throwing an error. It is asking you to sign in, and then basically when you sign in, it is giving an application error that access is not possible.
Let me check with the IT team then. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But make sure when you log into the Teams, you log in through the
Yeah,
associate.
with the official ID that you have shared across. Yeah, the same ID.
Nishan sir, can you guide me? Where is the group and where you uploaded that in a OneDrive?
I'll send it on email. Okay. We'll sort it out later. Yes.
Oh, okay, 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 okay. Cool. Thank you.
So, so friends, this is where we left, correct?
Yes,
This
sir.
is where we left when we were going for the. Okay. So, critical realism and where is the other one? Oh God. कभी कभी ये सिस्टम मूव नहीं करता ओके positivism philosophy so we said there are different types of philosophical perspective that people uh, start their research with. Your research has got a particular philosophical outlook. So we said positivism is one very popularly used method where data is involved. So when you use a lot of data, especially the quantitative data or quantitative analysis, generally assumes that you are doing a positivist study, which means you're going to use the data, and that data anybody across can use that data and do an analysis, and this expectation is that you will come at the same kind of conclusion. So you are trying to create a universalized theory, a theory that can be applied across. So you are doing a PhD research and coming out with a theory, and that theory now anybody can use it. So that is the expectation, positivism, and the expectation is that anybody who uses that research methodology and that set of data will definitely arrive at the same kind of answers. So that is why I said positivism. So the objectivity of the research is very high in a positivist philosophy. And when you take a positivist philosophy, we said there are certain ontological assumptions that we make, there are certain epistemological assumption, axiological assumption, and methodological assumption that we generally posit. So what are those assumptions that we are going to create? So I had asked you to think about from an IT perspective. You're all IT researchers. So, how would we arrive at those? So, we said ontology is basically talking about what is the research problem that you're going to address. There is a problem that you want to address. Now, that problem has to be framed in such a way that it will help you to do a positivist research. That is the expectation. I think in the methodology they will give you a lot more about how to frame questions, research questions, etc. So let me just read this. Any assumption, the from a positivist perspective, when you take when you make a research problem, any aspect under study, example, the social agency is seen as any other physical object and interacts as a natural phenomenon. So you are looking at any research topic as a natural phenomenon that can be scientifically studied. and you will only get one true reality. There is a truth you are going to find out, and there is a single point of truth that you're going to uncover. So that is the expectation. So, and the reality is ordered, there is a structure, there is a process. If you follow that process, you will definitely reach that conclusion, irrespective of who is doing the research, where he is doing the research, when he is doing research. So that is the idea. In a positivist research, you will always get the same result. So that's why it's called scientific methodology, they call it. For example, if you are to study the farmers community in a given village from a positivist perspective, we would assume farmers community as a physical entity like natural science. So that is the expectation. So this is what I told you. And from an epistemological assumptions, epistemology, we said, it tells you that if you adopt positivist philosophy, the knowledge you contribute out of your research project will be as follows: facts that are observable and measurable. So your knowledge that you're going to create are observable and measurable facts. It will lead to a law like generalization. You will be able to generalize your research, so that, as I said, anybody anywhere uh, can replicate your research. And it is generally dealing with numbers, so it is a quantitative research in general, because you are talking about numbers. Numbers will not, the assumption is that numbers will not cheat, or numbers is not biased. And there is a causal explanation, and predictions can be made. Factors influencing the dependent variable. So there is a dependent variable and an independent variable in research. Dependent variable, if A, B, C, D is there, then X will follow. So if in an organization, if there is a good culture, if there is a good leader, it is, if there is a ordered work structure, employees will be happy. So employee happiness is depending on these three factors. And the assumption is that if these three factors are there, automatically it will create a higher job satisfaction among the employees. Okay, from a management perspective, that's how we do research. From an axiological assumptions, role of value, what is the value, what is the ethics? So no scope for influence of researchers value. So the assumption is that in researchers values will not influence in the research, because you are only talking about numbers, and numbers you are collected from a third party. Your value system will not get impacted, will not be coming into the research, and you follow a strict objectivity perspective. As a researcher, you will be studying the aspect as it occurs. You keep your research quite neutral and detached from what is researched and the results. So you as a researcher is going to keep away from your research. So you are not going to influence the research, your research subjects to give you the right data. You are going to collect the data what they think is the right thing. So that is from an ethical perspective how we are looking at it. And lastly, the methodology. What methods do you follow to undertake such a study? So if you follow the deductive research, so it generally follows a deductive method. There is a theory, and then based on that theory, you are going to collect data, and then you are proving or disproving your hypothesis. So that's the assumption. And such kind of a data requires a large sample. You cannot come out with a quantitative, completely objective research with a small set of data. So you need a large data. You should be able to use statistical analysis on that data, and you will use a deductive method. So this is how we generally look at a positivist assumption. So let me stop sharing and share my screen. Okay. So now you're able to see my slide, na? Hello. Okay, my slide is visible. I'm going to. What happened? Somebody is taking my name in vain.
कोणत्या पोस्टसाठी अप्लाय करतो? हा अप्लाय करू
Okay,
शकता इथे.
Pranita Kulkarni. Okay, good.
विडिओसाठीच की आणि कसं असतं?
And still somebody is on. Swapnil, you need to.
नाही
Okay.
आपली ऑर्डर इयर वाईजच असते. परमनंट कसं?
Swapnil,
हो.
please mute your laptop. That will be grateful. Yes, thank you, Swapnil. So we I was taking an IT perspective. This is a few examples from the same thing. So, positivist assumption, that is what we are looking at it. So, from an ontological assumption, this is an example. IT research topic, your research topic from a positive. See, it's important to have, from the assumption that you are taking helps you to create a research topic. Say, for example, ontological assumptions. I have given different topic for each of the assumptions here. So, does AI assisted coding improve software developer productivity? That is the question that you're going to ask. That is your research topic. Does AI assisted coding improve software developer productivity? It's a positive assumption. A positivist assume there is one measurable reality. Okay, yes or no. There's a hypothesis you're going to set and you're going to validate that hypothesis. AI tools either improve productivity or they do not. Productivity can be measured using the number of completed tasks, lines of code, defect rate, or development time. So that's the data that you're going to collect from n number of people or n number of experiments that you have conducted. So that is the topic, and that's how we try to arrive at a positivist kind of outcome. So you have ontological assumption is that reality exists independently of the researcher. You are not going to come in between at all. There is one objective truth that can be measured. So you're going to measure the outcome objectivity based on these factors: completed task, lines of code, defect rate, development time, etc., etc., are the data that you're going to use to arrive at a conclusion whether AI assisted coding improves software developer productivity or not. So that is a a positivist way of looking at a research, and that is the ontological assumption. From an epistemological perspective, what is epistemology? Arriving at knowledge. Knowledge should be observable, measurable, and based on evidence. Now we said, and for that, say this is a slightly different research topic: impact of remote work on software development productivity. So we collected data. So data collected include sprint completion rate, completion rate, number of bugs fixed, code commits, project completion time from 500 software engineers. So you're going to collect that much data from that many people, and that is something that can be measured, that can be observable, etc., etc. So therefore, that is the epistemological assumption. So you're going to collect data, and that data is something that can be observed, validated, measured, etc., etc. Axiologically, that is ethics. What are the ethical values coming in the research? Say employee acceptance of AI powered HR systems is another topic. Okay. Now, even if the researcher personally believes AI is beneficial, you may believe that AI is beneficial, but you are not allowed to keep that belief to influence the questionnaire design. You have to design a questionnaire based on a standard or the data collection or interpretation. Results are reported exactly as the statistical analysis indicate. Say, for example, you are believing that AI is beneficial, and the research says no, it is not beneficial. You have to report as it is. You as an individual, you're not supposed to get in and influence the data or the analysis or any process at any point of time. That is the value ethics that we are going to look at. From a methodological assumption, What is the methodology that you're going to use? Say for this particular topic, does emotional intelligence improve IT product project success? So you're going to collect samples through a survey. Survey IT project managers analyze the data using structural equation modeling or regression. That's your methodology. So you are going to, and this is what we call a positivist research, as what you call, and then the expectation is that the result will be objective. There is very less room for an researcher's value to get into the process, and a lot of people generally use this methodology in doing this their research. Now let's look at another one. So this is what they call critical realism. The assumption. Assumption is critical realism, is the philosophical assumption. And within that, when you talk about ontological assumption, what is the nature of reality? Nature of reality is generally we talk about the topic that we are going to took up work. So reality is layered. There is no linear understanding of research. There are multiple layers in this process, which is not visible to the observer. Hidden mechanisms, there are a lot of undercurrents in the research. So for example, an example of a research topic that is this kind of layered, complex topic is, why do agile software projects fail despite following agile practices? You are looking at the failure, and that has may have multiple reasons. And how are you going to find out? That's that's what we are going to look in the methodology part of it. But the topic, when you decide, this is how you're going to decide. The observable reality is delayed projects and missed deadlines. The hidden reality includes poor leadership, resistance to change, weak communication, unrealistic client expectation, organizational politics. And each of these, it's very difficult to really understand and measure. Very difficult to measure organizational politics, for example. Very difficult to measure the effectiveness of leader. So that is from an ontological assumption how we are going to define the topic. Epistemological assumption is the knowledge that you are going to create. So for example, for a topic like factors influencing AI adoption among software developers, so survey data shows that 40% actively use AI tools. Interviews reveal hidden reasons such as fear of job displacement, lack of training, concerns about code quality, organizational policies restricting the AI use, etc., etc. So here what we are going to use, that we are going to use both qualitative and quantitative method to conduct the data. So I'll talk about that down, but the knowledge that you're going to create is going to have both quantitative in nature and qualitative in nature. So that is the epistemological assumption when you use a critical realism as your philosophical starting point. What are the ethical assumptions here? Researchers recognize that both participants' experience and their own perspective may influence the research. Bias is acknowledged and minimized rather than assumed absent. So when you write such kind of research paper, you are not saying it is completely objective. You say that these are the limitations. My paper had 1, 2, 3, 4 limitations, and one of the limitation is that the value system of the respondents and the researcher may have colored the questions that you are asked, what the kind of questions you ask, etc. So therefore, instead of pretending complete objectivity, the researcher documents these influences while using systematic methods to reduce bias. This is one part of it. Another axiomatical aspect is that the data that you have collected, what are you going to do with that data? Do you use that data for any other purpose? Again, the consent of the researcher is very important. Sorry, the participant of the research. So you collect the research from some ABCD people. Now you realize that that data you can use it for making profit. You're not supposed to do that. That is against the value system. You're going to do right, it's like uh, reveal that data while conducting a research on the employees of an organization. You found certain employees have got a very negative opinion of their leader, for example. So should you reveal that to the leader as a researcher? Or while conducting a study among the students in a college, you realize that there is a huge amount of drug addictions among the students. Should you reveal or should you not reveal? That's an ethical question that you need to answer. So that those are the axiological assumptions that comes into the picture. And what is the methodology that we use? So for a topic like why do digital transformation projects succeed in some organization but fail in others? That's a question that you're going to ask. And what is the methodology? Researchers collect survey data from 500 IT professionals and conduct interviews with CIOs and project managers. You see, you are going to use both qualitative and quantitative data for analyzing. And you may do in vivo analysis, a content analysis for the qualitative data, and a structural equation modeling analysis for the quantitative data. So both the method is used. Therefore, if you look at here, you can see objective, or which uses both qualitative and quantitative. So you are not just using a positivist methodology, or what they call the inductive reasoning, nor you are only using deductive reasoning. You're using both deductive and inductive in this particular research. And a lot of manage if you're going to have your research is going to have a management angle, it is expected to have a mixed method of research. All right, so far so good, guys. Did I make sense what I said?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It did. Okay, good. So I hope when I ask questions tomorrow, you will be able to give me an answer for that. Good. Great. Yep. So that is more about the broader philosophical topics that I wanted to discuss. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to share some other PPT. Where is that? Screen. Okay. So I told you philosophy has four major branches, and we discussed three of those branches in the first part of it. The fourth branch, which talks about ethics, I'm going to discuss in today's this session. All right, theories of ethics. That is the topic that we have for today, this session. Yes. So whether we call it do the right thing or do the thing right, we are going to have certain values, certain um, uh, perspective that we are going to follow through the research. There are certain ethical principles that we talk about. So before going into the philosophy in detail, so these are some of the things that generally people say that we need to look into when we talk about ethics: respect for human dignity and human rights and social justice, fairness, fairness towards the people, the subjects of your research, fairness towards the consumers of your research, transparency. I'll give an example about fairness. Now, imagine a concept like a thing egg. Consuming egg, is it good or bad for health? It's a topic of discussion for a lot of people for a lot of time. Now imagine a research says that consuming egg is good for your health, whereas many research have proved that it has got certain amount of cholesterol. It can create problem for some kind of people. And the same newspaper at the same column a month later has got another research which says the egg is uh, what is it? What did I say first? So once it said it's very good for health, the other one says it's not good for health. So two research having completely opposite results. Now it is always assumed that the research is not fair because both the research had some kind of vested interest. So the moment interest comes in, you are being influenced by that research for certain decisions. That decision, the basic premises on which you are making the decision may be wrong. And that's why they said fairness in research is very, very important. Transparency. In the research, we say that all the data that we collect, we need to have a proper process through which you collect the data. So transparency and what you're going to use this data for. So there was an instance of a doctor going into an African continent collecting blood samples from a lot of community members in a particular tribe there, conducted a research without telling why the blood is being drawn. They did it for a particular research, and then they came out with a research finding that the blood of that particular community has got certain resistant genes for against certain kind of diseases, and they realized that that blood can become an antidote for a lot of research, a lot of diseases. And this community, without telling this research organization, without telling the tribal community, patented the blood. And then after the blood of that community got patented, imagine when they go to hospital, they cannot give blood, they cannot take any treatment. They need the permission of the company. See how one particular research patented an entire process without telling the people on whom the patent is made. Honesty in terms of where you're going to use, how you're going to use the data. Non-discrimination. You should not discriminate among people, or your research should not lead to a policy that will discriminate people. Accountability and responsibility. So there was a time before non-discrimination. So there was a research conducted by a person called Charles Darwin. Very good research. Everybody talked about it, but then Charles Darwin's theory led to the whole slavery, because he says there is an evolution. In the process of evolution, people are the species at different stages, and the Africans, the black Africans, are at the lower level of evolution, and the white caucasoid are at the apex of the evolution. You see, you are putting somebody up and putting somebody low based on your theory. So if you look at Charles Darwin's theory from that perspective, it was one of the worst research ever conducted. Of course, it has its own positives. I'm not denying the contribution it made to the humanity, but the impact it led to was the whole discriminant behavior practices that followed in India. And not in India, across, especially in the Western countries. And of course, somebody has to take accountability and responsibility for any eventualities that might happen after the research. So these are things that we need to keep in mind when we conduct a research. So there are different types of research they talk about: normative, descriptive, applied, meta ethics, etc., etc. So So, what are the kind of? So, when you talk about normative ethics, there are certain rules, there are certain do's and don'ts. It is wrong to steal. It is a norm. It's a rule. So, the moment you break the rule, you will be punished. So, there is a penalty attached to a normative ethics. So a lot of research, the legal system, it's normative. A lot of religious taboos, do's and don'ts. They're all normative research. Sorry, the normative ethics. So when you say normative, the norm says you how to behave. Okay. Then we have descriptive ethics. Say, for example, 90% people believe that one should respect parents. Most people agree with it. It is wrong to steal. It is describing a fact. So, ethics is in the way you describe that. So, normative ethics, the norm says don't do it. Descriptive ethics, you make a statement, and that statement is an argument against certain uh, practices or for certain practices. That is what we call a descriptive ethics. And then we talk about applied ethics. So, the values when it comes to medical sciences, values when it comes to environment ethics, media ethics, AI ethics. So these are all applying ethical values to a particular field of um, walk of life. So that's how we look at the applied ethics. And meta ethics is something that is beyond everything. Meta is beyond metaphysics, beyond physics, metaethics, beyond ethics. So all these three, normative, applied and descriptive, tells you something to do and don't do. There is also something much beyond this. It is wrong to steal what uh, uh, the whole word wrong is the word wrong is mentioned, what do you call, that is described here. Why do you say it is wrong, and how, what makes something wrong? And that is where the meta comes into picture. So stealing is wrong. Now why do you say it is wrong, and what makes it wrong? That's the meta part of it. So we'll discuss all these in the subsequent slides. Okay. So the from an IT perspective, these are some of the examples for all these four types of ethics that I just discussed. So normative ethics says what should we do, and an example could be researchers should obtain informed consent before collecting users' personal data for AI training. So you want to train your AI and you need a lot of data, what you call large language, that you need to, the big data that you need. How to collect that data? You need to take the consent of the person concerned. That is the normative ethics coming into picture. Descriptive ethics. So what do people actually believe or do? An example is a survey finds that 82% of software developers believe companies should disclose AI generated content to users. It is also said that when you write a research paper and you're going to send that paper to um, publication house, you need to tell where the AI is used. I keep getting a lot of research paper for review from different parts of the world, and just reading the paper, you will know that this is an entirely AI written paper, and there is always an AI declaration at the end of the page saying that no AI is used at all. That is unethical. So you're going against the ethical practices. So this is what we call descriptive ethics. Meta ethics, what do ethical terms such as fair, right, or privacy actually mean? For example, a philosophical study examines what algorithmic fairness means. Now the whole your research is around algorithmic fairness. So that is a meta ethics concept that we are going to what we're talking about. And applied research, applied ethics. A study develops ethical guidelines for facial recognition systems used in airports, balancing security with privacy and human rights. So these are some of the examples how we can. What are the different types of ethical considerations uh, we generally use when we talk about ethics? What are the four different types of ethics that we are going to look into? Um, okay. So the remaining of the class, I'm going to talk about a few major schools of thought with regard to how we decide ethics. And most of these theories that I'm going to talk about, they fall into the normative ethics part of it. Now, it is this normative ethics that comes into the applied and descriptive and meta ethics. So, the basis is the normative ethics. So, I'm going to talk more about normative ethics in the next few, maybe an hour or so that we have with us. Okay, so there are a few schools of thought that discusses ethics. One is the Confucianism, which talks about the do's and don'ts from an Eastern perspective. So generally, when we talk about Eastern perspective of do's and don'ts, most of the time they assume if the paper is written by a Westerner and he has written Eastern values, it is based on the Confucian method. Sometimes they also use Buddhist methods. So even we have a very strong um, ethical school that developed within India through our Vedas and Bhagavad Gita, and mostly Bhagavad Gita, which talks about what is right and what is wrong from an Indian perspective. So, Confucianism is the most prevalent method or schools of thought that developed in the Asian continent. Then they talk about virtue ethics. Virtue ethics, in fact, developed after Confucianism emerging. However, uh, being the European thinker, and also Europeans then went to different parts of the world, the Greek philosophy became very popular. So everybody talked about, when we talk about philosophy, it got synonymous with the Greek way of thinking. And then we talk about Pythagoras being the first philosopher, Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, who kind of popularized the concept of um, philosophy. So virtue ethics is something that was originated from Aristotle. So Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, all they all talk about and popularly written down as a concept by Aristotle. So that is another major thinker, which is known as virtue ethics, that talked about the what is right and what is wrong. Then we have utilitarianism. Utilitarianism, which started with capitalism. So with the emergence of capitalism, a way of thinking emerged. Again, though it was Jeremy Bentham who originally coined the term utilitarianism. However, it was used by capitalism. So today, from a when you're looking at a business, when you're looking at technology perspective, the most popular perspective to understand what is right and what is wrong is the concept of utilitarianism. Around the same period of this utilitarianism, we also had a person thinking, ideating in Germany. So Bentham and these people, they were in England, and Immanuel Kant, he was from Germany, and he started a school of thought which became very well known as deontological school of thought. Deontology would mean basically um, always do the right thing. That's the thing. So there is no ifs and buts. You have to do the right thing. So that is deontology. And then the last one is justice theory. social justice. They also talk about equity theory, equality. In a society that is divided so much for a long period of time, that division was accepted as normal. At some point of time, they said discrimination should be eliminated. There should be equality in the society. That's where John Rawls coming into picture. So these are four five major insertions inputs into the ethical perspective. Now, if you look at, probably one of the oldest ethical theory was given by Hinduism, though it never developed as an ethical theory. The whole theory of Bhagavad Gita, if you look at, it is it is what Krishna telling Arjuna what is the right thing to do, what is dharma, what is karma. So teaching what should be the karma, right karma, and what should be the dharma of an individual. So that is coming from Bhagavad Gita. So though we don't have a developed, what do you call, ethical, we do have in India, but from a global perspective, it never got a kind of recognition. That is where government of India currently talking about developing Indian knowledge system. So where there is a lot of applications, there is a lot of work to bring in an Indian ethical perspective to the whole kind of discussion. So far, so good. Are you all with me?
Yes, sir. We are with you.
I hope
Yes, sir.
I'm making sense ना.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
इंटरेस्टिंग लग रहा है.
जी बिल्कुल.
Yes, sir.
Philosophy है. Somebody is not very happy with the. Okay. So far so good. Let me then continue with the discussion. Now, the next, I'm going to take two theories together. Okay, utilitarianism and categorical imperative, or utilitarianism and deontological theory. So this is also known as deontological theory. Deontological basically talks about values, value based theory, or moral principles. That is, deontology is talking about values or morality. Uh, that is the basis on which deontology comes into. Utilitarianism is talking about utility of an action. So two theories. I'm going to talk about these two theories as together. Now imagine a situation. Um, I'm going to have these images running. So this is a story told by a person called Michael Sandler. Sander. Michael Sander is a faculty in Harvard. Now he's a very popular teacher on justice, ethics, values, etc. He's a very popular researcher. Now he has told a story. The story goes something like this. बच्चों, आप लोग सब अवेक है ना सुनने के लिए? जागे हुए हैं ना? Good.
हाँ सर, बिल्कुल.
Okay. Keeping that in mind, let us start with the story. Story goes something like this. You are a person. You went to see the railway track. You are first time going to a railway track. You wanted to see the railway, etc. So you are moving around the, around that place, and you see from far a trolley train. Trolley trains are generally used to check the tracks, etc. It does not have an engine as such, but it has got. It's like a bus. Now it is coming at a very fast pace, and then you realize that the trolley train does not have a driver inside. Then you realize that the trolley train has lost its brake, and it is, you cannot stop it. No one can stop that trolley train at this point of time. And then you look down and you see down the track There are five people standing and working. You see, these five people are working on the track. And you realize you tried to shout, you tried to, all kinds of things to get their attention, and they are not looking at you because, they realize that there is no train scheduled at this point of time. They are bindas खड़े होके काम कर रहे हैं. And then you realize that if they don't move, this trolley train is going to bang onto these five people, and all of them are going to die on the spot. So you have no choice. And then you realize that you're standing next to a lever, and you realize that if you pull that lever, the train would take a diversion, and the train will take the next an unused track. Nobody is there, and then you saw at the end of that track there is one single person standing and working. So if you don't do anything, these five people will die. If you pull that lever, the train will take a diversion, and in the process, this one person will die. Yeah. What would you do? Would you shift the track, or will you allow the track to go and bang onto that five people and kill all the five people? What do you think you will do? You have to choose between this and that.
ಏನು ನಾವು ಬಂದ್ಕ shifted the train.
You will shift the track, Apurva.
Yes, sir.
And what about the others? Will you shift the track, or will you let the trolley train go and kill that five people?
Shift.
Shift, shift the track. Okay.
Shift the track.
So, do I get a consensus from everyone?
I think shifting the track is good.
Is there anyone who says no shifting the track?
I think no one is saying that.
No one is saying you will shift the track. Good. Now imagine a slight. Okay, what is the rationality for shifting the track? What is your reason for shifting the track?
Yeah,
So,
you have to say
greater good, is it?
Shifting the track, and then the person who is there in the train jumps out before it goes and hits the wall. So somewhere it is like a saving thing.
You don't want to shift?
No, want to shift. I'm just telling, like it will go and bang the wall. There will be a damage, but
One person will die in the process.
but that
This guy
person
will
can jump
die.
out also, no?
The same thing is possible for these five people also.
Five
This
people.
guy, this guy knows that this is unused track, and then he knows very sure that nobody is going to come onto this track. So he is even more bindas than these five people. So I assume that most of you agreed to the fact that five people's life is more important than one person's life, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that the reason, or is there any other reason?
That is the reason.
That is the reason. Now I'm just trying to understand, is there any other reason why you said you will shift the track? Okay, assume. Yes.
So in shifting track, so in curve track, so there is a wall. So I think this is the end of train. So, but
Yes, that
if you see
unused track is to stop the train.
yeah, but if train go straight, so there is no wall. So I think after killing the five people, train can kill more people also.
More people also. Okay.
So
So,
because there is no wall.
I mean, your understanding is that one is one dead is better than five dead. Correct, na? Or saving five people is better than saving one person. Either negatively or positively, phrase the sentence. Now imagine a slight different scenario. A slight different scenario is like that. Now you are no more standing there. at the I mean at near the lever. Now you are standing on the foot over bridge. You see this foot over bridge you can see here. So you're standing on the foot over bridge and you see the same scenario. Trolley
Hmm.
train is coming very fast and these five people are standing there and working, and you are not next to the lever. This is the old scenario. Now you are here and you see this one person, but you can't do anything to change the track. Now you see that you are standing next to a very fat guy, very fat fellow, and he is also leaning onto the track, looking at the same scenario that you are looking at it. So trolley train is coming at really breakneck speed. Nobody can stop it. It's coming at a real fast pace, and it is going to ram into these five people. And he is also excited. What is going to happen? He also want to do something. He cannot do anything. You tried shouting, but there is a lot of noise. They are not able to hear you. And then you realize that if you're sitting behind this old fat man, थोड़ा सा push करने से this fellow will fall onto the track. This I think somebody has got their audio on. Please mute it. Okay, good. So the person will fall onto the track, and he is so fat that train will stop. You can save the five people, but now you again one person will die, and you can save the five people. Same scenario, you're saying five people, and here you need to give a slight push to that person. He will fall onto the track, he will die, but you are saving the five people. Now, how many of you would push that guy to save the five people?
So I personally won't push the guy because after
Okay.
pushing the guy, I will face the charge.
Mm-hmm. So, what is
So
the
and
difference between the story one and story two?
so in story two, the someone intentionally in story two, someone intentionally pushing the guy.
Don't you
But
think pulling the lever is also intentional?
no, no, pushing the guy on the
Hey,
track.
pulling the lever to take the train to the other track, isn't that also intentional?
This is also intentional,
Huh.
but yeah, it is.
That's some problem.
Yeah.
So, how many of you
But
would?
here people become so selfish to save our lives. Is
Okay. Mm-hmm. What about the others? Will you push that person?
Sir, ethically and morally, when there isn't chance to save person, you're trying to save the people over there. But when you're pushing a person, you don't know that if the train will really stop because the weight we don't know maybe.
No, the train will
I
stop. The train will
the
stop.
train will stop.
Hmm.
Okay. In
So,
both the cases, I might not make a decision maybe.
so you would stand by and let the five people die.
I don't know, sir.
No idea. See, you as a person has the opportunity to do something. Now your choice है करना है नहीं करना है. And when if you have to do something, you also need to have a justification why you will do that and why you will not do it.
Say, while I am pushing it, the lever, I am pushing an object there. I'm not pushing a person by from my own hands.
Okay, okay.
So that emotion
So
that I
you are
will
not
not
personally
carry it
committing the
for a
murder.
longer time.
yes.
Hmm. So why murder is wrong? So the active murder is something that you will try to avoid at any cost. That's what you said, correct? Great.
Yeah,
So
yes, sir.
this is the basis of two theories that I'm going to discuss now. So there are two theories. One theory talks about utilitarianism, and the other theory talks about um, a theory called deontological theory or categorical imperative. Okay, so before that, let me ask. Now imagine, is cannibalism good or bad?
Cannibalism.
You
So if
understand
you
what
have,
cannibalism is?
yeah, I think
Eating
if you,
another
if,
human person's body to
yeah, yeah.
survive.
Mhm. If someone have enough sources to eat, and then I think cannibalism is not acceptable in any society. Or I think if you have enough sources to eat, but if suppose your plane crashed in a mountainous region like in Alaska or in Western Himalayan region or in Everest, and then you don't have any source of any food. So I think people go to this stage to eat the human flesh.
It's about surviving in that
Yeah,
current
yeah, it is.
situation. It's a survival
Yeah, yeah.
situation. Yeah.
So सिनेरियो अलग अलग सिनेरियो हो सकता है. वी कैन हैव अ सिनेरियो वेयर कुछ भी नहीं है खाने के लिए एंड देन घर पे तीन ही लोग हैं एंड सबसे छोटे को मार के खा लेते हैं.
ऑल्सो अगर कुछ खाने के लिए नहीं है तो इट इज पॉसिबिलिटी दैट पर्सन इट सेल्फ डाइड. तो दूसरा पर्सन मरे हुए इंसान को भी खा सकता है जो ऑलरेडी डाई हो गया है ड्यू टू द स्टारवेशंस.
हाँ हाँ. So there was a story of this maroon shipwreck somewhere in the Alaska where you know people died and uh, pe- five people were in a lifeboat, and after some time one of the person, the a new fellow, a cabin boy, so he was so thirsty he started drinking seawater. Now drinking seawater is not very good for, and then he started developing seasickness and eventually he died. So then they immediately after he died, the others realized that we need to survive, and they actually drank his blood and ate his flesh, etc. And this continued. Finally, after about 2 3 months, they were discovered. By the time the rescue came, only one person was alive, and then he was brought back to civilization, and then there was inquiry what happened, etc. And then he narrated his story what happened, and then the law found him guilty, and they kind of I think kind of they kind of killed him.
Murder charges.
Murder charges. So that was the story. Now the same was made it into that story. The Life of Pi बोल के एक movie था ना. I don't know. Have you seen that movie, Life of Pi?
No, I
Mm,
haven't
this
seen
is
it.
this is that I forgot his name. Yeah, it's a Hindi
Irfan
English.
Irfan Khan, I
Irfan
think
Khan. Yes,
was
Irfan
yeah.
Khan's movie. Yes. So the movie was actually on that particular story. The animals are all survivors, and each animal has a story to tell. So it's a story. The tiger is the one finally kind of survives, and then telling the story what happened. So that's the story of the whole thing. Now all these are telling us there are certain things that we can do, certain things we should not be doing in a legal law abiding society. What is expected and what is not expected. Something can be done, something cannot be done. So that is what one theory basically says. Let's look at both the theories separately. One theory that became very popular in the let's start with utilitarianism. Okay, in the during the 17th 18th century, 18th century was this theory called utilitarianism. Now this is a normative ethics theory. You Bentham Jeremy Bentham and J.S. Mills, and later on Adam Smith. All these three people together developed and popularized this concept of utilitarianism. So the base theory basically says that moral worth of an action depends on its consequence. So the end result is what makes an action right or wrong. And therefore some people call this theory a consequentialist theory. Consequentialist theory means consequence of the action makes the action right or wrong. So the right action is the one that maximizes the overall happiness. So people also call it happiness principle. So any action that creates an overall happiness, maximum number of people should be happy. And if your action can lead to that scenario, then be happy, your action is good. So the greatest good for the greatest number of people, that's the idea. And I think you also subscribe to that when you initially said 5 people's life is better than 1 person's life, correct? So you chose 5 people because you realize that greatest happiness. So 5 people's happiness means 5 people's families, and a lot of people are happy in the process. So that is what is utilitarianism basically says. It relies on the theory of intrinsic value. So feeling of pleasure and pain as intrinsic, and one could measure this in units of pleasure and pain. So every action that you should be undertaking should reduce the pain and increase the happiness. So your effort as an individual should be to minimize the problem, so minimize the pain and maximize the happiness. And any action that leads to maximization of the habit and minimization of the pain is a utilitarian action. So an act of stealing or lying, if it brings happiness, it is the right action. But when it becomes widespread, the general trustworthiness disappears. Hence, it may be wrong. Okay, so imagine a situation. This was a story I don't know when I learned about, and I was reading Mahabharata or Ramayana. This story, somebody told me this story. So this Muni was, sitting and doing tapasya, and in the tapasya, he is all trying to be united with the god, so telling lie, all kinds of non, there is a lot of things that you're supposed to be doing, and he was doing all those things and tapasya kar rahe hai. And then this villager comes running frantically, he is, and he is scared, and he is looking back all the time, and he's come right into the door of this Muni and says, please save me, there is this Rakshas chasing me, and if he sees me he's going to kill me. And the question is, should the Muni, should this person hide the the villager or not? So he says, come inside, hide behind. And then the next person comes. Next person is all angry, is wielding a big axe and says, where is that guy? I'm going to kill that fellow. So should the Muni, who is always a righteous person, point at the person who is hiding inside, or tell a lie? That's the question. I'm sure all of you said lie, na? And that's exactly what utilitarianism says, that if a lie can save somebody's life, why not tell a lie? If killing a person can save a nation, why not kill that person? And that is the basis on which death penalties are given to people, isn't it? In the rarest of rare cases, you award a death penalty so that if he is put back into the society, who knows that he may commit even bigger heinous crimes. So an action becomes right based on the merit of that action or the utility of that action. That is why it's called utilitarianism. Hope makes sense, na?
Yes, sir.
Now the problem with this kind of an argument is that you say killing is good as long as it justifies a greater good. Now anyone can kill somebody and justify, isn't it? So if you allow such kind of a rule, there is a high possibility that people go and kill others, and then you only need to provide evidence to show that you have committed it for a greater good, or telling a lie, or cheating in the exam. Now, is cheating in the exam good or bad?
Theoretically
So
wrong.
it is wrong.
Well, yes.
But what is the wrong in helping a person who would not pass? Say, for example, there is this, there was this argument, अगर बच्चे pass हो तो pass होने दो. There are a lot of these students in many of the municipal schools. The assumption is that they are not very good in, let's say, maths, and most of the time students fail in this particular subject called maths, and बाकी सब में pass होते हैं, maths में fail होते हैं. और ये लोग सब पास होके बहुत, ये क्या बोलते हैं, साइंटिस्ट वगैरह बनने वाला नहीं है. सो व्हाट आर दे गोइंग टू डू? दे आर जस्ट गोइंग टू हैव अ 10th पास सर्टिफिकेट, दैट्स इट. So why not give them the 10th pass certificate? He will get a pune's job. So a lot of teachers has got this idea, and they allow they give answers to these students, make them pass. That is right, na?
No, sir, still wrong.
Why is it so wrong? So
Because
you're helping
guys,
that
there
boy
is a
to get a
difference
job.
between saving some person's life, because we are talking about a life there. Here, whereas when we talk about education system, there are so many solutions that can be looked into. The students can work hard.
See,
There are
in
ways.
India, to get a pune's job, you need a 10th certificate.
Also,
वो नहीं है
government.
तो you will not get a job. So a lot of teachers deliberately push certain students to pass so
Yes.
that they get a job at the end of the day. Is it good or bad? That's the whole question. Somebody said no, it is not right. What about the others?
I think
Tough
it is
question.
good.
Sir,
It is
wouldn't that
good.
be unfair? Because see, you're telling answers to certain set of students, and for certain set of students, you're allowing them to write by themselves,
Correct. They
right?
are good students. They are bright
Yeah,
students. They
they're
are
good
going to
students.
become scientists, etc., etc. ये लड़का कुछ करने वाला नहीं है. अभी मैक्सिमम वो कचरा प्यून बनेगा, बस उतना ही.
But don't you think, sir, that would be still unfair to reveal the answers? In fact, we could have trained better that child. You do at least so much and come study this concept. This will help you to pass the exam.
What would be the reason? You need to rationally, you need to argue your point. What will be your argument? Why would you say it is wrong? Emotional appeal
It's
नहीं
not
कर सकते हम.
emotionally, but as a like as an educator, that would be unfair. Just to help a
Why
child to
would you
pass, so
say it
that
is
he,
unfair?
because other students have spent their days and nights in studying that concept so well, and we are just revealing the answer for one child, thinking that okay, pass हो गए कुछ शायद प्यून का job मिल जाएगा, but that would be still unfair from my end.
But a lot of people do that.
And
So,
A
further
lot
in
of teachers
future,
do
we
that.
will
someone
get
studying
into that
anything.
psyche that somewhere I might be able to do anything unfair in his future as well. So we're giving him wrong feel.
Mm-hmm. So you are actually giving
So
a wrong
frankly
message to one
speaking,
person.
actually, my mother was a maths teacher
Ah.
in a government school, and the students, they would not come to the school, and so during the exam she used to literally go and pull them and bring to the school and make them write the exam, reveal the answers, so they pass and they at least some job they would get. This has happened practically in front of me.
Mm.
But I used to ask my mom the question, like, why should we help? Isn't that unfair on the good students? She used to only tell me, let that child get a job. I'm
Correct.
still not clear with her answer, though I ask her the same thing.
That is why that's what I'm asking. So how would you argue that point? So what?
So,
Ah, if somebody has an answer,
Go
I thought
ahead.
someone.
Yeah.
Okay. So what they said, there are, then they said, let's talk about two types of utilitarianism. They gave slightly different arguments. So what they said is that if there is a norm which says cheating is wrong, and if you allow one person to cheat, you are setting a precedence. And the moment you set a precedence, the next generations also you have to continue to do this. So over a period of time, cheatings will become a common practice, or telling a lie becomes a common practice. Now, because it has become a common practice, it has become a norm in the society, cheating is right. Say, for example, with all due respect to all people from Bihar and this class, there was a time when the chief minister of the state, a person called Karpuri Thakur, he
Yeah.
allowed the students to cheat in the examination.
And I think he got
And
the some prize last year on.
uh-huh,
I think he got the some award from the government of India.
correct. So he was considered a very people oriented leader. बच्चे लोग students अब मेरे बच्चे जैसा है, and then he allowed the people to start cheating in the examination. Bihar at some point of time was the sought after place for people to go for higher studies. I remember my parents time, बिहार में पढ़ाई करना मतलब पटना यूनिवर्सिटी का एजुकेशन है, योर ग्रेजुएशन इज पटना यूनिवर्सिटी, यू आर वन ऑफ द बेस्ट एजुकेटेड पर्सन इन इंडिया. What about today's Bihar education system?
It is collapsed.
Completely collapsed. You see, you set a wrong precedence, and that precedence became the norm over a period of time, and then the entire system collapsed. So, what they say is that if doing, it's like you say that happiness, any action that brings in happiness is something that you can do, but that action, if it is going to set a precedence and it's a wrong example for the rest of the society, then that is a wrong action, and that is the argument why it should not be practiced. So cheating in the examination is therefore wrong. And then they said the utilitarianism, there was a lot of criticism against utilitarianism. Then they said, let us bring slight change in the whole the way we understand utilitarianism. They brought in a theory called active utilitarianism and rule utilitarianism. Active utilitarianism focused on the merit of the act. Rule utilitarianism says that if following a rule is going to create happiness, then let us follow the rule, let's not break the rule. Or violating a rule, if it is going to create a larger unhappiness in the future, let us not get into such kind of an action. Okay, so that is rule and active utilitarianism, how to solve the problem that original utilitarians brought in. So when they created capitalism, they brought in utilitarianism to justify. So one of the utilitarianism that they practiced, those who have some idea of economics, there is this person called Adam Smith. He had created a theory called laissez-faire economy. Laissez-faire economy meant that government should not intervene in the activities of the business organization, and they said market will regulate itself. And he said in a capitalism, market is everything. If market, if nobody intervenes in the market, and if nobody monopolizes the market, then n number of people can come into the market. That would mean that there is a large amount of products and goods coming into the market. Now when you have got large amount of goods supply into the market, the demand reduces, and when the demand reduces, the price reduces. So poverty, inequality, all those things will automatically get going when you allow the market to function its own. So you don't need to set a rule saying that a government should intervene, ये नहीं करना है, वो नहीं करना है. Let the market manage itself. Let us not, let the government not involve in the day-to-day affairs of the organization. So that is what Adam Smith said. So as a result, capitalism developed. There is a lot of positivity. However, it also created a lot of negativity. That is when the criticism started emerging, and that is when they brought in act and rule utilitarianism. They said, if following the rule is going to create a happiness, let us follow the rule rather than violate the rule. Okay. So that is about utilitarianism. Similar to utilitarianism, and before going into the categorical imperative, I thought I'll talk about a slightly different but from a similar perspective. This is a theory that was proposed by uh, two people, two American thinkers. One person got what they call Nobel Prize for Economics. The other person received Ayn Rand. She became one of the most celebrated management gurus. The Atlas Shrugged, Atlas. There is a lot of books that she had written. Became all of them became bestsellers, and in almost every MBA colleges, Ayn Rand's book was something that every management student had to read. Okay, so this lady became very popular, and Milton Friedman became a very celebrated economist, and then he had his own theory. Now, the theory that these people popularized is what they call selfishness. Selfishness is good. That's what they said. The theory was called ethical egoism. Ethical egoism basically says that all people should do what is in their best interest. Every individual should look out for their self interest. So that is what the theory is basically. And everybody was very happy with this theory. And when people started writing about it, everybody started buying and reading and became best selling book overnight. Everyone will be better off if each person does what is in his or her interest. Now, when does egoism or self-centeredness or selfishness becomes good? So these people argued that selfishness is good. Say they give the example of business. Now, if I am a business person and I selfishly, my selfishness would mean that I need to maximize profit. If I maximize the profit, I would not hide that money, na profit. I would put that profit back into business and grow the business. In that process of growth of the business, I am creating more employment, so more people are getting job. People are happy. I am creating more goods and services, which means I need more resources. So the suppliers are happy, farmers are happy. I'm making more goods. Market में बहुत ज़्यादा सामान आ जाता है. More production happening. So prices of goods and services will fall down, and I'm making more money. The government is happy because more money means more profit means more tax. So overall, everybody is happy if business organization selfishly pursue their interest. On the contrary, if an organization spend the profit into CSR activity, their argument is that you are actually wasting that money that otherwise could have been put back into and expand the business, which means you are doing a disservice to the society. Do you agree with this argument? What is your opinion about this argument? Did I lose you people? है ना तुम लोग साथ में मेरा? Neha?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you agree with this
I
argument?
thinking if it is the circumstance of the business, I think selfishness is fine. But if it is talking about the personality or individual person, I think it's a just wrong choice of word calling selfishness. Rather, I would say self-love.
Self
But it
love.
depends on
Okay.
the situation. I would
Hmm.
not call it selfishness. It's a very harsh, negative kind of word. But I would take it as self-love rather. So I would take it in a way that shows the positivity there.
Good. Very nice. I appreciate your thought. What about the others? This idea became so popular. The whole world is facing that now. This was the basis on which this people's theory, Milton Friedman, Ayn Rand's theory, became the basis on which later on the President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, and the Prime Minister of Britain, Margaret Thatcher, uh, opened up a new economic theory which was called the neo uh, liberal economics policy, and this led to the development of world trade organization, globalization, liberalization, privatization, the whole concept of LPG, etc., opening up of the market, the world market to everybody. So a lot of things happened because of the philosophy of these people. So as Neha said, it is not just an individual's personality, what do you call selfishness that we are talking about. So here they were not talking about an individual; they were looking at as an organization. So they were giving this theory for business organizations. So of course, it also has personal, individual resonance too, especially what Ayn Rand and all those things people talked about. So this became another theory which became popular and based on which the world started looking at what is the right action and how and why organization should do certain things or should not do certain things. Okay. So that is the second theory. Both these theories talk in the same language, which is utilitarianism or happiness. Making happiness is the right thing to do. All right. Now, uh, another theory. The opposite of this theory was proposed by a person called Immanuel Kant. His theory is known as categorical imperative, also known as the deontological theory or moral principles. So, moral principles, first time somebody codified and started talking about was Immanuel Kant. Kantian philosophy, it is generally known as Kantian philosophy by Immanuel Kant. So, what he says is that um, he is talking about duty. So, any action, any the principle of categorical imperative, he talks about these three major things. Act on the maxim that you wish become over time would become a universal law. So, in other words, what it says is that you have to always act in such a way that everything that you do can become a universal law in itself. Your action can be replicated by everybody else. Otherwise, don't do it. So, one of the kind of test of what is the right thing, therefore, this according to deontology, I did something. Can I go and tell my mom or my wife that I did this without feeling a conscious prick? Or can I do something and go back and sleep without